Well, hello, this is Ponderosa North for the love of Bonanza. Well, you can take the boy out of Canada, but apparently you can't take Canada out of the boy. When I was researching Lorne the Canadian, my fellow Canadian, I was pleasantly surprised to see how often he returned to his homeland, his place of birth. He was born in Ottawa, Ontario, and his parents were immigrants from Russia. And I kind of thought, well, how did they end up in Ottawa of all places? I mean, when people immigrate, why didn't they go to Sweden or England or, Ireland or someplace like that? I don't know. But then I found this article about Lorne's mother, and that's Lorne's mother, Dora. And it explains why. The type is really small, so I'm going to put on my glasses so I don't mess it up. But it explains why they came to Canada. It says, early in the 1900s, 17-year-old Lorne Greene left Russia on a long journey to join her young husband in Ottawa, Canada. 6 months earlier, Daniel Greene, then 19, had set out to establish a new life. He came to Ottawa because a cousin lived here. And that's often the case with immigrants. They come because they know somebody, they have a friend or somebody who can sponsor them. Soon he had a shoe clinic business established and then sent for his young bride. It goes on to say the following 44 years that Mr. and Mrs. Greene lived in the Ottawa Gloucester Street area had their share of joys and sorrows. Their son Lorne grew up to be, of course, Paul Cartwright. It goes on to say that. But it's interesting, she says, they returned to Ottawa where his daughter lived, and he was going to give his daughter away at her wedding. And it says here that Mike Landon and Pernell Roberts and Dan Blocker were ushers at his daughter's and Mrs. Greene's granddaughter's wedding. So I was glad I found that, because I didn't know why they ended up in Ottawa. So let me tell you a little bit about Ottawa. Here's beautiful Ottawa, Ontario. It's the capital of Canada. It lies between Toronto and Montreal. It's just a gorgeous, gorgeous city. It's where all the Canadian War memorials are, all the museums. Downtown Ottawa is just a lovely place. Markets, shopping, all kinds of stuff. And at the turn of the century, the 1900s, about when Lorne's parents emigrated, there was about 87,000 people in Ottawa. Today, there is 1.4 million in Ottawa, in the Ottawa-Gatineau area. And this apparently is the house that Lorne grew up in on Gloucester Street. I'm not sure it's there. I Googled it. I couldn't find it. So it's probably been torn down since. So here's Lorne. As a young boy. I've shown this before, but look at his dad. He looks so much like his father. He looks like his mother's too, but I mean, that's Ben Cartwright standing right there. So here he is as a young man. Here he is at 16 years of age in Ottawa. It looks like probably fall or spring, because in Ottawa in the winter, you're pretty much snowed under. Another young picture of Lorne. Quite a handsome guy. He went to Liskeard Collegiate Institute. Looks kind of hoity-toity. I'm pretty sure it's a private school. I should go online, or you can go online and read more about it. It's Liskeard High School, or a Collegiate Institute. And they actually, in their newsletter, they did a tribute to Lorne upon his death. And it says in his yearbook, it says, Chaim Lorne Greene, his mother called him Chaim, one of the best students at VA, has a meteoric rise to fame. His ability as an actor was demonstrated by the excellent performance he gave in the concert play, especially under rather adverse circumstances. I don't know what that means. The success of the Glee Club review at the concert was largely due to Lorne's solos, so he was singing back then too. He is also a faithful member of the orchestra. So he's on his way to the entertainment business. That's his destiny for sure. And he ends up at Queen's University, which I've mentioned before, which is in Kingston, Ontario, where he did a lot of acting there. And he returned in 1971 to receive an honorary Doctor of Laws degree from Queen's University. So this is Lorne's returns back to Canada, even though he's moved to the States and became, I'm sure, a U.S. citizen, probably had dual citizenship. So after he left Queen's and he did his military service, to Toronto he went and to start his broadcasting career. And when Lorne does return to Canada all these time, it's always seems to be in a broadcasting capacity. He's known in Canada as a broadcaster. Of course, he's known as Ben Cartwright. I mean, the world knows him as Ben Cartwright. But in Canada, it's all about his broadcasting career. Here he is in 1942, accepting an award for at the CBC. What is the award? The award is the Davis Award. And here he is at the mic at the CBC, obviously reading something distressing. It was during the war. He was the man who told Canadians about their men overseas. So a little bit of a distressing news there. So when he moved to the States, he continued on with his Canadianism-ish, and I think he was a lead of this is in Los Angeles. It's a sort of a dual Canadian committee he had there in Los Angeles. And this is a member of Parliament here, probably in 1967, which was the Canadian Centennial. But he returned to Canada very, very often, and we were always glad to see him. We always had a great welcome home, and he appeared a lot at the CNE, which is the Canadian National Exhibition, which is in Toronto every August. During the pandemic, it was closed, but we had our first one just this last August. So he seemed to return to Toronto a lot. He spent 13 years here. There he is at the CNE, broadcasting some sort of radio show, and dancing with a lovely young woman. Look at those pants, Lorne. Goodness me. And this was some sort of formal event, though that's the Governor General of Canada, who represents the Queen in Canada back then. It's probably in the 70s. But it was up until, here he is representing the Olympics. There he is. Probably an educated guess would say this is Montreal 1976. There's the Olympic logo. I had the Olympic logo on my sweater. See? Yeah. So yes, he returned a lot. These are all broadcasting guys. This was in 1986. So he's coming back right to the end of his life. This was a year before he died. That's Fred Davis. That's Gordon Pinsent he's with. So his old buddies from the old times. And here he is. A lot of these are from the Toronto Star archives. There he is talking to Fred Davis, who is a big broadcasting name here in Canada. And this was from the Academy of Radio Arts, which he founded in Toronto. So, and he came back to do CBC anniversaries and things like that. Here he is at Queen's University, again in the broadcasting booth. And he also came back to do a couple series, Lorne Greene's New Wilderness. So he came back often, and he never sort of lost his connection to Canada. Both his son and daughter, twins, were born here. Chuck lived in Lake Tahoe for a while. He's moved back to Canada now. And Lorne Greene also received the Order of Canada in 1967, I believe. Now, the Order of Canada, which I've mentioned before, is the highest honor that Canada gives to its citizens. Other recipients are Christopher Plummer. And see this little pin here? That's the Order of Canada pin. So he's accepting his award with his Canada pin. Other recipients are Michael J. Fox, and Martin Short, Eugene Levy, of course Alec Trebek, Shatner, and Sutherland. But it's also given to scientists and writers like Margaret Atwood, astronauts like Chris Hadfield. So that's Lorne as a Canadian. Here he is on our Canadian magazine back there, a news magazine, and broadcasting. So he has a very, very big part of Canadian history. And we are all very proud of Lorne Greene here up in Canada. So we'll see you next time on Ponderosa North for the love of Bonanza. Bye for now.